Ben, Lewis, thank you so much for coming on Unboxed.
Sure. Great to be here.
Right, let's talk about Komi. I want to hear everything. So how did you come up with the concept and how long did it get to? Because I think people don't often appreciate just how much time, effort, iterations, optimization, changing goes in from where you start an idea, right, to where it probably is now. How far away is it from the original concept? How close is it? And how did you come up with it in the first place?
Yeah, it's definitely evolved a few times.
Yeah.
But I think, we initially started trying to be like, how can we make more money for creators? But what you realize, and you know this better than most, like creators are so busy doing so many different activities, whether it's creating content, whether it's like thinking of ideas, whether it's even doing like the editing. So they almost don't want another thing to do to make money, but actually all those great things they are doing, how do they showcase that? So what Komi does is effectively just bring everything into one place. And the whole idea is that you don't need to have a label, you don't need to have a manager. You can use our platform and you can just like bring in your YouTube, your TikTok, your Spotify, your Apple Music, whatever content you're creating. And it means your fans can just find everything.
And how do you find in the landscape with like link in bio is like a thing everyone says now, right? Like, head to my link in bio, and there are other platforms out there. I've genuinely never seen anything as slick and as amazing as you guys, completely in an unbiased sense, right? And the ability to amalgamate everything is very visually, to have all your products there is very distinct. But how do you find kind of coming into that landscape, which has been going for a little bit now?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, like how we got to where we are was very much through some of the networking partners that we had early on. So, we were already fairly well in with music managers or creators, labels, etc. So for us, even though there was obviously some offerings out there, it was about going away, chatting to these guys and actually understanding what they need, what they want. So sort of all the way from the beginning, we've been building this alongside these partners. And that's enabled us to have them bought in from the start. And, it's really how we got to the point of being able to get such great people using the platform already. Is just by having a platform that they actually wanted and needed and got to join us in building.
But also I think, the link in bio spot, it could actually be anything. Like, there's obviously companies out there like Linktree, which do a good job of servicing a lot of clients, but generally it's not as visual and it's not as interactive. I think where we've probably accelerated is that, we've made everything visual, everything comes onto page, talent are seeing a lot more commerce clicks. So it's actually just enabling to like capture a lot more data and to generate a lot more income from like doing nothing. So that's probably why we've done done well quickly on like winning the link in bio spot, even though what we're building is sort of broader than that.
Yeah, right. So in terms of that growth, right, one thing that I've been seeing even since we started working together, right, it's like every week there's another creator who's like, oh, it's Komi.io, Komi.io. It's a constant trend. And I think it's quite rare, right, to have such quick growth and so many people join the platform. 2 billion people on the platform. Now, how has that been and how have you managed to get so many people so quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of goes back to what I was just mentioning before about having that network early on. And I think a lot of it, at the start we noticed came down to trust. People, when they're using a new platform, like a lot of the time they don't want to be the first to use it, right? But the fact that we'd been able to build this alongside those partners meant that we were able to get some big names early on in all categories that we work within. So within sport, having people, like a Gareth Bale, within music, having someone like a Lizzo, it kind of really helps with that trust element. And off the back of that, we've then sort of had a lot of introductions. And I think for us, we've realized that as soon as you sort of work with a management company to bring on like their initial roster, most of the time they want to start creating much more of like a bigger partnership there. And, it's kind of helped us continue to build as well with like feature requests and things like that. So I definitely say like the early network that we had helped in garnering that early support. And bringing on some sort of big people from the start.
Right, so you guys have been invite only for a while, well, for the whole journey to date, right?
Yes, yeah.
When is that changing? And what is your sort of vision for, I guess, the sort of small to medium creators who haven't had access to the Komi platform yet?
Yeah, so we've been invite only whilst we've been building it, just so we try and make it as good as possible. Because what we realize is like you need to sign up and you need to build a page which takes like 2 to 3 minutes. But actually we want to make that flow as seamless as possible. So what like Jake on the product team has been doing, as well as Bruno and Addison, the designer, is like gradually going to the long wait list we have and saying, hey, we'll let 10 of you try it. We give you an Amazon voucher, but you need to speak to us for like 15 minutes and say what was good, what was bad. So that actually they're like, I don't like this part when you sign up and I don't like this bit and this was really difficult. So it means that when we go live to all of the wait list and all of the creators in the world, it's a much improved experience.
So how are you feeling about letting it out to the world?
To be honest, like, I mean, I'll let you talk about the wait list, but we're getting a lot of people saying, hey, we'd love to join. And like, you know, I'm a smaller talent, but like, I would love to access the same platform as Lizzo. And that is basically the whole purpose of the business. It's like trying to empower the 92 million that have less than 100,000, but more than 10,000 followers, access to the same tools that the best people have, because, you know, everyone starts small and grows. And if we can help them on that journey, you know, all of a sudden, hopefully we can be part of that when they're, you know, at the top of the
Yeah.
creator economy as well.
And the other thing that's also interesting, right, is you guys must have so much data at disposal in terms of where people are viewing, what people are, you know, engaging with. How, like, what is it like to have that data, and what sort of trends are you seeing from a sort of discovery and I guess audience engagement perspective, without going into too many confidential NDA secrets, that are interesting in terms of the creator economy?
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely really interesting being able to see how people are growing, whether that be in terms of following, whether that be in terms of page views or engagement. You know, it's also quite interesting during certain events. So take the World Cup, for example. We obviously saw quite a big growth of footballers joining the platform around them because they were so aware of how their brand was going to increase during that time. So if you take someone like Sofian Amrabat, who obviously took Morocco to the semi-finals, he, in terms of following, increased over 6x on Instagram, and actually ended the period at one of the most viewed pages on Komi. From someone that, you know, previously most people would never have heard of, even if you were a football fan, to being on, you know, nearly 4 million followers on Instagram, and like sitting on a platform alongside the likes of Elton John and Lizzo and being one of the most viewed pages is quite impressive. So, you know, it's exciting to see things like that as well. But I think in terms of trends, like where people really see strong views and engagement, it's often when they work content with commerce. So to give you an example of like a female musician we have on the platform that recently had without naming names, put up a music video, but instead of sending them to YouTube to watch that music video, put the YouTube video into her Komi page, and then sent everyone to Komi to watch that embedded within the page. But knowing full well that she also had all of her merch sitting right next to that video,
and you're collecting the views on YouTube anyway.
So
right?
you're still hitting all your views on YouTube, but you're also got a page that has all of your merch buyable right below that. So it ended up getting 15,000 clicks on merch from pushing someone to watch a music video, which you normally would have lost the fan after that to YouTube.
Whoa, that's really good.
So, you know, seeing stuff like that's, you know, really impressive. And I think it kind of goes to what Lewis and I were actually talking about earlier in terms of how creators and influencers don't want to seem to be selling too much, right? You want it to be more authentic. And I think by, you know, that trend of being able to push people to content that you created that you're proud of, but then also turning those into purchases, into e-commerce clicks is pretty cool.
Yeah, so you're driving traffic to a beautiful page which has your kind of substantial content on there that is adding value entertainment wise, but then there is that passive commerce where people, if they want to, rather than having to push constantly to merch, it's always there, right?
Exactly, yeah. And I think, you know, it's also interesting how people are using these Komi pages. It's not necessarily that it even has to be a click from a link in bio. Like we see people turning the page into like a QR code. We actually did a campaign with Mariah Carey's team for McDonald's sort of Christmas menu that she did. I think it was 12 Days of Christmas, Mariah Carey. Not this Christmas gone, but the one before, just before we launched. And what they actually did is they put the QR code of Mariah Carey's Komi page onto all of the McDonald's menus around the United States.
Oh, wow.
So that if you were going and purchasing anything from her menu, you could also scan that, and then she was able to then show all of the things she's doing, her music videos, any other brand deals she's got, all that kind of stuff. And then we see it, you know, on the back of tickets, gigs, and things like that. So it's interesting, like how people are actually using these to engage fans, not just through social media, but through any walk of life.
Yeah, well, it's like the link in bio is the modern website, really, right?
Pretty much.
And like you guys, it's distilled in such a mobile optimized way without all of the faff. It's so easy. You can set it up in 2-3 minutes, and it's actually going to drive proper conversion. Interesting. And so, in terms of the creator economy as a whole, right? You're talking a bit about monetization. You know, creators using, well, not just creators, but artists, whatever, using merch passively and selling it on Komi. What is the future in your mind of monetization in the creator economy? Where is it going, and how does Komi have a role in that?
Yeah, I think a lot of creators have their lane, whether it's being a YouTuber, whether it's being an influencer, whether it's being a music artist, and a lot of their primary revenue will come from whatever that source is. I think though what is going to change is that a lot of creators are going to want to monetize their data and their audience data. So like, brands want to know like who follows KSI, for example, and they would love to advertise to those people because they know what his audience is like and what they can purchase. So like, how does he get that data and how does he give it to them? That's a massive opportunity. As well as beginning to think around the creator, depending on how big you are, it sort of goes in like an effort versus reward. So if you are, Harry Styles, it needs to be exceptionally low effort and exceptionally high reward. But if you're just up and coming, you're actually probably happier to put effort into creating, one-to-one videos where people can pay you to chat to you, or where, like inside Plus, where you create a content series and then people can pay you subscription. I think it really depends on like the willingness of the creator to put work in, but also the scale of the creator as well.
Yeah, I think it's, one thing that's interesting is as platforms like YouTube continues to demonetize, become more ad focused as well, as TikTok, taking, I found the other day, 70% of income from live badges and payments, right? 70% they take, so the creator gets 30%. Like monetization on platforms is just not working at the minute, right? And it has to fundamentally change if it's going to continue. There will have to be more and more creative models for creators to build systems where not only can they monetize them more directly, but also they can build structures where they can actually say what they want, where they can do what they want. Because on YouTube right now, for example, you're getting demonetized all the time for saying anything. Some of the rules that they've been bringing in over the last few months have been almost draconian. Like, it's wild. And you then realize, okay, this is why creators are looking for more independence in terms of platforms. So yeah, and that's where with you guys actually being able to amalgamate those links, there are going to be more and more links, I think, and more platforms for people to connect to that aren't going to be, purely found on the places where everyone's trafficking already, like on YouTube or TikTok, etc. So just on that point, what is your view on that, right? On like creators being almost forced into creating their own spaces, and on platforms having that much control, they can just, ban someone at a click of the hat as they're doing.
Yeah, I think this is sort of the reason we built this, which is like trying to empower creators and being on the side of talent. We're not running adverts on Komi pages. We're not taking advertising revenue from the content you're creating. It's actually, how do we give you access to your data? So for example, on Komi, you set up your own mailing list. You can export that CSV, you can take it off platform. You have all the emails, the phone numbers of your fans. That's nothing to do with us. What we see is we try and be like an enablement platform, and actually how we turn these creators into the merchants, because we trust them, we identify them, we deal with them day in, day out. Actually, how we can enable them to become the brands of the future is what we're trying to sort of make happen.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think the way that short form has opened up so many opportunities for discoverability for creators in a way that wasn't there 3-4 years ago, really pre-COVID and pre-TikTok really booming out, which is, I think, liberating, really, right? And so many creators now, as you're saying, can just have an overnight success, when that wasn't really the case on Instagram 2-3 years ago, when that was so dominant, or Facebook days, or before that, where it was a lot more controlled and there wasn't, I guess, as much of a light at the end of the tunnel. I guess for you guys, it's being on that journey with the creator where they join Komi and then they have that moment, and then they've got the infrastructure and the platform to blow up and then actually capitalize on that, both in terms of providing value to fans, but also in terms of discovery, right, which you guys provide on the platform. So
Totally. And as well as like trying to stop creator burnout, there's a lot that creators have to do today. So if we can try and help by giving you like an all-in-one platform to do many of these tasks, it means you don't have to manage and find all these different softwares. So I think if we can help stop that burnout, it makes them be better at what they're doing. Which is sort of the whole purpose, I guess.
Love it. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Amazing.